Commander Catherine Mills stood at the massive window of the Galactic Council chamber, her blue eyes fixed on the three suns of Centauri Prime as they set in perfect harmony. The year was 2457, and humanity had spent 150 years as part of the Galactic Council. Today might be their last. The chamber buzzed with whispers from 24 alien species. The Zorn delegates, with their gray skin and large eyes, watched her carefully. The plant-like verdant representatives swayed their leaf-covered heads in disapproval. Even the usually friendly Aquarians seemed distant today. Catherine touched the gold commander pin on her uniform, a habit she had developed over her 15 years of service. The Earth Defense Fleet badge next to it caught the dying sunlight, reminding her of everything at stake. The Council will now vote on Resolution 557, announced High Chancellor Zix, his tentacles waving in the official gesture of ceremony. The matter of restricting human technological advancement. Catherine's heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. Next to her, Ambassador Peter Walsh gripped his datapad tightly. They both knew what was coming. The humans advanced too quickly, said Delegate Moore of the Zorn Empire. In mere decades, they have achieved what took other races centuries. It is unnatural. It is dangerous. The verdant representative raised all four hands. They modify their genes. They merge with machines. They break the natural order. Catherine stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. We came to the stars as equals. We shared our medical technology that saved billions during the plague of 2389. Our terraforming methods helped restore dead worlds. Our maintenance crews keep your stations running. That is precisely our concern, interrupted Chancellor Zix. Too many systems depend on human technology. Too many worlds rely on human methods. The balance of power shifts too quickly. Peter Walsh stood up, his gray hair catching the last rays of the setting suns. So you would chain us, limit our growth, force us to stay behind while we could move forward. The chamber erupted in arguments. The spider-like Weaver delegation clicked their mandibles in agitation. The crystalline Lumini glowed brighter in anger. The vote will proceed, Chancellor Zix announced firmly. Catherine watched as the holographic display showed the results. Green lights for restriction. Red lights for freedom. Green. 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 The numbers grew. Species after species voted to limit human advancement. She felt cold inside as the final tally appeared. 18 votes for restriction. 4 against. 2 abstaining. Peter Walsh rose slowly. The chamber fell silent. Humanity has heard the Council's decision, he said, his voice heavy with disappointment. For 150 years, we believed in this alliance. We believed in working together. We share our knowledge freely, and now you fear us for it. Catherine stepped forward. You fear our progress so much that you would stop it, but you forget something important about humans. She paused, looking at each delegation in turn. We don't go backward. Ever. Peter nodded and pressed a button on his datapad. As of this moment, Earth and all human colonies are withdrawing from the Galactic Council. All human personnel, technology, and support will be recalled immediately. The chamber exploded in shouts and protests. Chancellor Zix's tentacles turned pale. You cannot do this. The Council forbids it. Catherine smiled sadly. You just voted to restrict us. You no longer have the right to forbid anything. She turned and walked toward the exit, Peter beside her. The aliens called out, demanding they return, threatening consequences. But Catherine didn't look back. She knew what would happen next. The galaxy had grown too dependent on human innovation, human maintenance, human problem-solving. They just didn't realize it yet. As they reached their ship, Catherine looked at Peter. They'll call this rebellion. Peter shook his head. No, this isn't rebellion. This is humanity simply walking away. And they're about to learn what that really means. Lisa Warren stood on the observation deck of New Mars Colony, watching as another fleet of human ships jumped into orbit. As the colony's lead terraforming specialist, she had spent 5 years making the red planet bloom. Now, like everyone else, she had to leave it all behind. "That's the 15th fleet today," said her assistant, Rob Phillips, checking his datavat. "Looks like the mining crews from Jupiter's moons." Lisa nodded, her hand pressed against the thick glass. Below them, automated machines were already dismantling the atmospheric processors. "How many colonies are left to evacuate?" "7, Rob replied. "The farthest ones near the outer rim. Earth Defense Fleet is providing escorts for their ships." The observation deck shook slightly as another atmospheric processor was pulled from its foundation. These machines had taken Mars from a cold, dead world to a living one. The aliens would surely try to copy them once humanity left. Lisa smiled, knowing they'd fail. The real secrets weren't in the machines. They were in the millions of tiny adjustments her teams made every day. Her communicator beeped. "Warren here." "Lisa, it's Daniel Carter from Fleet Command. Your transport leaves in 2 hours. Are your teams ready?" She looked at the dozen men and women working at their stations. They had been her family for 5 years. "Yes, everyone's packed and waiting. Just finishing the shutdown sequence." "Good," Daniel said. "The aliens are getting nervous. 3 Zorn warships just showed up at the edge of the system." Lisa wasn't worried. The Earth Defense Fleet had grown powerful over the years, though the aliens didn't know just how powerful. They had always hidden their true strength, not wanting to frighten their allies. "Let them watch," she said. "They're about to learn what it means to lose human expertise." The next 2 hours passed quickly. Lisa walked through the colony one last time, remembering how it had looked when she first arrived. The bare red rocks were now covered with hardy plants. The thin atmosphere had become breathable. Rivers flowed where dust storms once rage. "All teams, report to your transport ships," announced a calm voice over the speakers. "This is the final evacuation call for New Mars Colony." Lisa took one last look at her world. The aliens thought terraform meant simply adding water and air. They didn't understand the delicate balance of microbes, the careful genetic engineering of plants, the constant monitoring and adjusting. Without human maintenance, Mars would slowly return to its dead state. On the transport ship, Lisa found a window seat. Rob sat next to her, his usual cheerful face serious. "They're calling it the Great Walkaway on the news channels," he said. "The alien networks are saying we're just throwing a tantrum. That will be back in a month." Lisa watched as her colony grew smaller below them. More ships were appearing in orbit. She recognized the distinctive shapes of vessels from Europa, Titan, and the asteroid belt colonies. Humanity was gathering its pieces from across the solar system, preparing to close its borders to the galaxy. "They don't understand humans very well, do they?" she said quietly. "When we walk away, we don't look back." The transport ship's engines hummed to life. Through the window, Lisa saw the first signs of change already beginning. The atmospheric processors were offline, and thin wisps of red dust were starting to swirl across the surface again. It would take years, but eventually Mars would return to its natural state, a monument to what happens when you try to control humanity. As they broke orbit, Lisa saw the Zorn warships in the distance, watching. "Let them watch," she thought. "The show is just beginning." 6 months had passed since humanity's withdrawal, and Alan Cooper was watching it all fall apart. From his small observation post on the edge of human space, he documented every failure, every crisis, and every panicked message that crossed the alien communication channels. "Another one," said his colleague Susan Martinez, pointing to a red dot appearing on their main screen. "Trading station in the Rigel sector just lost artificial gravity." Alan noted it down in his report. "What's that now?" "The 4th station this week." "6th, Susan corrected. "They're falling like dominoes." Turns out those maintenance schedules we set up weren't just suggestions. The observation post was technically illegal under the isolation protocols, but Earth's government wanted to monitor the aftermath of their departure. Alan had volunteered immediately. After 20 years as an alien trade specialist, he couldn't resist watching how the galaxy would handle humanity's absence. His computer chimed with an urgent message. Well, well, he muttered, reading the screen. The Zorn Empire's main shipyard just lost their automated repair systems. Our systems. Susan walked over to look. Did they try the restart sequence we left them? Of course not. Alan laughed. They're too proud. They thought they could figure it out themselves. Now they've got 30 ships stuck in maintenance docks, and the whole system is locked up. The room's holographic display suddenly lit up with dozens of new distress signals. Alan and Susan watched as red dots spread across the galaxy map like a virus. Each dot represented a system or station facing critical failures. Remember how they used to complain about paying our maintenance crews? Susan said, shaking her head. Said our rates were highway robbery. Now they're offering 10 times those rates. Alan replied. Not that anyone can accept. A new message flashed across his screen. Priority communication from Centauri Prime. Alan opened it, and the desperate face of Chancellor Zix appeared in a recorded video. To the Earth government, the alien leader's tentacles were pale with stress. We must discuss the current situation. Multiple critical systems are failing across Council space. We require human technical expertise. The Council is prepared to reconsider the restriction vote. Alan forwarded the message to Earth Command, adding it to the hundreds of similar pleas they'd received. Earth's response remained the same. Complete silence. Susan called out. You need to see this. The main screen showed camera feeds from various trading hubs. Alien ships were backed up at fuel stations, their crews arguing as automated systems failed one by one. At a major medical facility, doctors struggled with malfunctioning equipment that needed regular human calibration to work properly. It's not just the big things, Alan observed. It's all the little systems we maintained, all the small improvements we made over the years. They never noticed how much they relied on us until now. His computer chimed again. This time, it was a message from a small mining colony. Their life support systems were failing, and no one knew how to fix them. The message ended with coordinates and a desperate plea for help. Send it to command, Susan asked quietly. Alan nodded. They'll dispatch a covert rescue ship. We're not monsters. We won't let them die. But we won't go back either. The observation post's sensors detected a large ship approaching the nearby trade route. It was an Aquarian vessel, once among the most advanced alien ships. Now it was running on minimal power, its sophisticated systems slowly failing without human maintenance. Look at their engine signature, Susan pointed out. They're running at 30% efficiency. Their quantum drive is barely holding together. They thought human technology was just about building things, Alan said. They never understood it was about maintaining them too. About constant innovation, constant improvement. A new alert sounded. This one marking the complete shutdown of a major trading hub in the Orient sector. Thousands of ships were now stranded, their crews becoming desperate. It's starting, Alan said quietly. The real panic. The real chaos. He looked at the galaxy map, now covered in red warning lights. And this is just the beginning. Susan touched the screen, her fingers tracing the growing number of distress signals. They wanted to control us, to keep us down at their level. Instead, they're learning what it means to be without us completely. Send the daily report to Earth, Alan said, watching another station go dark. Tell them Phase 1 is proceeding faster than expected. The galaxy isn't just missing us. It's realizing it can't function without us. In the darkness of space, more red lights began to blink, like stars going out one by one. Maria Reeves watched the smuggler's ship explode on her monitor, its cargo of stolen medicine scattering into space. 1 year into humanity's isolation, and the once-safe trade routes had become hunting grounds. From her hidden monitoring station aboard the stealth ship Black Swan, she had a front-row seat to the galaxy's descent into chaos. As a former navigator who had spent 15 years mapping the fastest and safest routes between stars, she knew exactly what was going wrong. Another raid. Her partner Chris Boyd reported from his station. Third one today. The verdant ships tried to fight back this time. Maria pulled up the footage. The plant-like verdant species had once been peaceful traders. Now their ships carried weapons, but they didn't know how to use them properly. The pirates, mostly former merchant crews turned desperate, were getting better at attacking. "Remember when we used to calculate jump points for them?" she asked, watching another verdant ship flee into hyperspace. "Their navigators still can't figure out our optimization algorithms." Chris nodded. Now they're jumping blind. Half their ships end up light years off course, burning through fuel they can't replace. The monitoring station's AI flagged another incident. Maria switched screens to see a massive traffic jam forming near the Arcturus Gateway. Without human traffic control systems, the ships were struggling to coordinate their movements through the narrow safe passage. "They're starting to hoard," Chris noted, checking the cargo manifests of the waiting ships. Medical supplies, repair parts, even basic food. Everyone's afraid of running out. Maria zoomed in on one of the larger vessels. It was an Aquarian bulk carrier, the kind that used to transport food across the galaxy. Its hull was scarred from multiple pirate attacks, and its engines were clearly struggling. "Look at their power readings," she said. "They're running that ship into the ground. No maintenance, no proper repairs. I give it 2 more jumps before the reactor fails." A priority alert flashed on her screen. The Zorn Empire had just closed its borders to all trade, claiming they needed to protect their resources. 3 other species had done the same in the past week. "They're breaking apart," Chris said quietly. "Everything we built, all the trade routes and agreements, it's all falling apart without us." Maria pulled up her old navigation charts, overlaying them with current traffic patterns. The efficient routes she had mapped were now largely abandoned. Ships took longer, safer paths, burning more fuel and time. The galaxy's economy was grinding to a halt. "New distress call," Chris announced. "Passenger liner. Their life support is failing, and they're stuck in the middle of nowhere because they can't calculate a safe jump." Maria's hands hovered over her controls. She could send them the calculations they needed. One simple transmission could save hundreds of lives. But orders were orders. "Forward it to command," she said reluctantly. "They'll send a rescue ship, but only if it's life or death." The Black Swan sensors detected a new wave of ships approaching the Arcturus Gateway. The traffic jam was getting worse. Some captains were getting aggressive, pushing their way through. Maria watched as 2 ships collided, their crews unable to handle the complex docking procedures without human-designed automated systems. "They never believed us," she said, recording the accident for her daily report. "When we told them our navigation systems needed constant updates, constant refinement, they thought we were just trying to keep them dependent on us." A massive explosion lit up her screen. One of the ships in the traffic jam had tried to force a jump too close to others. The resulting blast damaged 3 other vessels. "Send an emergency alert to all stations," she ordered. "The Arcturus Gateway is now officially too dangerous for transit. Mark it as a no-go zone on all channels." Chris compiled the report. "That's the 4th major trade hub we've had to mark as failed. The whole network is coming undone." Maria looked at her navigation charts again. The beautiful, efficient routes she had spent years perfecting were vanishing, replaced by chaos and fear. Ships wandered like lost children among the stars, their crews discovering too late how much they had relied on human expertise. "They thought the galaxy belonged to them," she said, watching another distress beacon light up in the darkness. "They're learning now. The hard way. Space is cold and unforgiving, and we were the ones who made it safe for everyone." Dr. Nathan Pierce looked at the quantum display floating above his desk in the Earth Science Center. 2 years after humanity's withdrawal from galactic society, he was about to test something revolutionary, something that would widen the gap between humanity and their former alien neighbors even further. "System check complete," announced his research partner, Linda Chen, from her control station. "The quantum field is stable." Nathan nodded, his eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of light. "Begin the communication test." They were attempting what the aliens had always claimed was impossible: instant communication across any distance. The Galactic Council had insisted that light speed delays were a natural law that couldn't be broken. But humans had never been good at accepting limits. "Sending signal to our relay on Pluto," Linda reported. The quantum display pulsed with new colors. Instantly, with no delay at all, a response appeared. Nathan smiled. 0.0 seconds, he said. "Perfect transmission." Linda laughed. "If only our old alien friends could see this. Remember how the Zorn scientists used to lecture us about the impossibility of quantum entanglement communication? They're probably still trying to figure out how our old systems worked," Nathan replied, checking the test data. "Last report said they've completely failed to reverse engineer any of our abandoned technology." The lab's main screen switched on, showing news feeds from across human space. Earth had changed in 2 years. Cities had grown upward and outward, freed from the restraints of alien building codes. New colonies were thriving, using technologies that would have been restricted under council rules. "Speaking of reports," Linda said, pointing to one newsfeed, "looks like another alien delegation tried to reach Earth today. The defense fleet turned them away before they got past Jupiter." Nathan watched the footage of the alien ships retreating. They looked old and worn, nothing like the sleek vessels they had proudly displayed 2 years ago. Without human maintenance and upgrades, their technology was slowly failing. "Have you seen the latest images from Centauri Prime?" Linda asked, pulling up another feed. The once magnificent alien capital was dimming. Many of its grand towers were dark, their power systems failing. "They still can't maintain the fusion reactors we built for them." "Incoming message from command," the lab's AI announced. "Priority 1. The message opened automatically. It was from Admiral Sam Carter himself. "Dr. Pierce, your quantum communication breakthrough is confirmed. Begin immediate rollout to all human colonies and fleet vessels. The aliens are not to know about this technology. Let them continue thinking it's impossible." Nathan sent back his acknowledgement. Then he turned to Linda, ready to change the game again. She was already working at her station, preparing the quantum communicators for mass production. "You know what this means, right? While they're struggling with old tech, we're leaping forward. The gap isn't just growing, it's becoming a canyon." The lab's sensors detected another surge of distress signals from alien space. This had become normal, daily calls for help as their technology failed. But Earth maintained its silence, focused on its own advancement. "New report from our observers," Linda said, reading from her screen. "The verdant worlds are falling into a pre-industrial state. Their biotech is failing without our genetic templates. The Aquarians have lost 3 underwater cities to power failures. And the Zorn, well, they're finally admitting they don't understand how half their own technology works." Nathan walked to the window, looking out at the gleaming spires of New Washington. Human cities were powered by new fusion plants, connected by quantum networks, and protected by defenses that would make their former alien neighbors tremble, if they knew about them. 2 years, he mused. 2 years since they tried to chain us down, to keep us from advancing too fast. Now look at us. Look at them. Linda joined him at the window. They thought technology was just about having it. They never understood it was about mastering it, improving it, pushing its boundaries. The quantum display behind them pulsed with successful transmissions from across human space. Each pulse represented another step forward, another breakthrough that the aliens had claimed was impossible. "We're not just walking away anymore," Nathan said quietly. "We're running forward." And they can't even see how far behind they're falling. Amanda Foster sat in her darkened intelligence office, watching multiple screens showing scenes of destruction across the galaxy. 3 years into humanity's isolation, and everything was burning. "Another civil war just broke out in the Zorn Empire," reported her analyst, Ryan Kelly. Their outer colonies are refusing to send resources to the core worlds. Amanda marked the location on her galaxy map. Red dots covered nearly half the former Council space now, each representing a conflict zone. The Zorn were just the latest to fall into civil war. "Show me the refugee numbers," she said, rubbing her tired eyes. The statistics that appeared made her wince. Millions of aliens were fleeing their homes, searching for worlds that still had working technology and basic services. "The Aquarians are shooting at their own ships now," Ryan said, bringing up new footage. The usually peaceful water-dwelling species had turned violent, fighting over their last working underwater habitats. They've lost 90% of their deep-sea cities. The survivors are getting desperate. A priority alert flashed on Amanda's main screen. The verdant homeworld, once a garden paradise, was descending into chaos. Their bioengineered cities were dying without human maintenance, and their population was splitting into violent factions. "Play the intercepted transmission," she ordered. The screen showed a verdant elder, his leaf-covered head wilted with stress. "We were wrong," he was saying to his people. "We should never have supported the restriction of human technology. Now we pay the price. Our children will grow up in darkness because of our pride." Amanda switched the feed off. She'd seen enough desperate confessions from alien leaders lately. They all said the same thing. Too little, too late. "New refugee crisis developing in Sector 7, Ryan reported. 3,000 ships trying to reach the human border. They're running from the fighting in the Crimson Nebula. "Alert the defense fleet," Amanda said. "Standard procedure. No entry, but deploy rescue ships if there's immediate danger to life." She stood up and walked to her office window. Earth was visible below, peaceful and prosperous. Human space had become an island of stability in a galaxy torn apart by war and technological collapse. "Message from the observation post near Centauri Prime," Ryan called out. "The Council chamber has been destroyed." Fighting broke out when the last emergency power systems failed. Amanda wasn't surprised. The Galactic Council had been effectively dead for months, its member species too busy fighting among themselves to maintain even a pretense of unity. "They're blaming each other," she noted, watching new footage of alien diplomats fighting in the ruined council chamber. "Everyone claiming it's someone else's fault that they supported restricting us." Her computer chimed with an update from Earth Command. Amanda read it quickly, then turned to Ryan. "Well, it's official. High Command has confirmed that the technology gap is now irreversible. Even if we gave them our old tech back, they'd forgotten too much. They couldn't maintain it anymore." Ryan pulled up more battle footage. The alien ships looked pathetic now, barely functioning, using weapons they barely understood. Some had resorted to ramming tactics, having forgotten how to repair their advanced weapons. "Latest intelligence estimate?" Amanda asked. "At current rates of collapse, 40% of former Council species will be reduced to pre-space flight technology within 5 years. Another 30% will barely maintain interplanetary capability. The remaining 30%—" Ryan paused, checking his data. "They might keep some space travel ability, but they'll never recover their former level of technology. Not without help." Amanda watched as another alien city went dark on her monitors. She remembered visiting that same city years ago, when it had been a shining example of galactic civilization. Now it was just another failed monument to pride and fear. "Launch another satellite network," she ordered. "Full coverage of all conflict zones. Earth needs to see everything that's happening." "Will we ever help them?" Ryan asked quietly. Amanda looked at the chaos spreading across her screens. "Eventually," she said. "When they're ready to accept help without trying to control us. When they understand that humanity won't be chained." A new alert showed more refugee ships approaching human space, fleeing from their own people. Amanda sighed. The galaxy had wanted to stop humanity from advancing too quickly. Instead, they had triggered their own collapse, while humanity soared ahead, unbound and free. Admiral Paul Bennett stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Hope, watching the ruins of Centauri Prime grow larger in the view screen. 5 years had passed since humanity walked away. Now, they were finally coming back, but on their own terms. Multiple distress signals detected, reported his communications officer, Sarah Wells. They've spotted us. Ships are launching from the surface. Paul watched as the alien vessels approached. They were old and battered, barely holding together. Nothing like the proud warships that used to patrol these skies. They're hailing us, Sarah said. Audio only. Their holographic systems stopped working months ago. Put them through, Paul ordered, straightening his uniform. A tired voice filled the bridge. Earth vessel, this is Acting Chancellor Reed of what remains of the Galactic Council. Have you come to help? Paul looked at his second screen, where Commander Catherine Mills, the same Catherine who had walked out of the council chamber 5 years ago, was waiting on a secure quantum channel from Earth. Chancellor, Paul replied, we've come to discuss terms. Humanity is willing to return to galactic society, but things will be different this time. The response was immediate. Anything. Please, we'll accept any terms. Paul nodded to his crew. The Hope's cargo bay doors opened, revealing the fleet of humanitarian ships behind them. Each one carried medicine, food, and repair teams, everything needed to start rebuilding. First, Paul said, all restrictions on human technological advancement are permanently lifted. We will develop as we see fit. Yes, of course. The Chancellor agreed quickly. Second, human technical advisors will oversee the rebuilding of your worlds. You will accept their authority in all matters of technology and infrastructure. There was a pause then. Agreed. Paul continued. Third, Earth will establish new trading protocols. Fair exchange of goods and knowledge, but we maintain control of our critical technologies. You will never again attempt to copy or steal our innovations without permission. We understand, the Chancellor said. We learned our lesson. The hard way. The Hope entered orbit around Centauri Prime. From here, Paul could see the darkened continents, the empty space docks, the ruins of what was once the greatest civilization in known space. Final condition, Paul said. You will acknowledge humanity as equals. Not as servants, not as threats, but as partners. Break this agreement, and we walk away again. Permanently this time. We accept all conditions, the Chancellor replied. The documents are being prepared now. Paul switched to the secure channel. Commander Mills, are you ready? Catherine's face showed on his screen, older but still determined. The rebuilding teams are ready. Admiral, we've been preparing for this day for 5 years. Begin landing operations, Paul ordered. Priority to medical facilities and power stations. He watched as the first shuttles descended toward the surface. Teams of human engineers, doctors, and technicians ready to help rebuild what was lost. But this time, humanity would be the teachers, not the servants. Sarah called out from her station. Sir, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Everyone's heard we're back. They're all requesting aid. Tell them to wait their turn, Paul said. We'll help everyone, but on our schedule, not theirs. The first reports were coming in from the surface teams. The damage was even worse up close. Generations of progress had been lost in 5 years of chaos. It would take decades to rebuild, and things would never be quite the same. Admiral, Catherine said from his screen, it's done. The new treaty is signed. The Galactic Council is officially dissolved, replaced by the Interstellar Cooperative, with humanity as founding members, not late additions. Paul looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were thriving, advancing far beyond anything the aliens had imagined possible. Now it was time to bring that progress back to the galaxy, but this time on humanity's terms. Send word to Earth, he ordered. The return protocol is activated. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do when we're not held back. As the message was sent, Paul watched more shuttles launch from the Hope. Humanity had walked away once, letting the galaxy learn a hard lesson. Now they were walking back, not as supplicants or servants, But as leaders, the stars seemed brighter somehow. A new age was beginning, and this time, humanity would light the way.